Let's bring in Byron York from the Washington Examiner. He is also a Fox News contributor. Byron, I'm hoping and assuming that you were listening through most of that. What did you think about the response from the president when he was asked, you know, why would anybody be an American ally again after this? Do you worry about that? And he basically said no. I mean, what did you think of that response?
Well, he basically ended the whole thing with a very emotional discussion of Americans who've been wounded in what he calls these endless wars, meaning in Iraq and Afghanistan, and also the presence in Syria, basically offering a kind of an emotional picture of Americans who have lost their children in war and have the body of the young soldier returned home to Dover, Delaware, and emotional scenes there. And he basically said, look, there's a time and a place for these things, and these things have to end. So I think the president is not only saying that he's fulfilling a campaign promise, but saying that this is something that he actually believes in. He doesn't think the United States should be extended all the way around the world, and so that's his first priority.
It was also interesting. Did you notice, you know, when he was talking about having, you know, people go through the conversations and be on the call when he's on with all of these foreign leaders, and he talked about being on the phone with China and Turkey, and he said, or when I'm negotiating with Syria. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
You think that was just do you think he misspoke, or do you think that there was a call with Bashar al-Assad all along here somewhere?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like these things leak out quite a bit these days. I don't know.
You did hear that, though.
Oh, yeah. He was discussing.
Connell and I sort of both blanched, and we were like, what was that?
Yeah, he was discussing the issue, of course, of the whistleblower complaint and of the national security staff that listens to the president's phone call and records them almost verbatim as they happen, and the fact that those should be actually secure in the White House and not leaked. That was his big point there.
Yeah, no, and I mean, he could have easily been meaning Turkey, but sometimes this is, you know, something, it's what is on his mind, and it comes out. I was shocked that no reporters followed up. I mean, we heard it instantaneously, and I would have said, you mentioned, you know, negotiating with Syria. Have you been doing that recently? But no one asked that question afterwards. Let me ask you, shifting gears just a little bit, what you were supposed to come on and talk about. I want to ask you about Elizabeth Warren and the Warren correction, which this is a business show, and this is why we focus so much on a lot of these candidates, because it impacts the economy and people's wallets. An Oppenheimer analyst suggesting that the senator's recent surge in the polls is contributing to the banking sector's significant losses so far this month. Warren today taking first place with a razor-thin margin in the Real Clear Politics average for the first time in this cycle. And Byron, I mean, it is a fact that Wall Street definitely is frightened of her being president. Do you think that could you blame any part of the stock market on her surge?
No, they're afraid that that she might do even half of what she promises to do, which they believe could be disaster. In May, last May, Joe Biden had a 27-point lead in the Real Clear Politics average of national polls. What you're suggesting is business felt pretty comfortable with that. That was not a big problem for them. They could seek a restoration of the way things were during the Obama years. Not as happy as they would be, I think, with continued deregulation under President Trump, but still something they could live with. Now, 27-point lead in May. Now Elizabeth Warren leads by 0.2 of a point. Joe Biden is no longer the front runner at all. And there are people in all sorts of sectors who are worried about Elizabeth Warren. And, you know, remember, she has dodged questions about what many of her plans would cost. She's famous for saying, I have a plan for that. Well, many of them cost billions or trillions of dollars.
Yeah, I know her Department of Economic Development terrifies me. Let's put the government in charge of economic development. Byron, thank you for rolling with us. We appreciate it. Always brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.